Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Remote No Pressure podcast. I'm so excited to be here this week. Last week's episode with Wild Bill, I got some great feedback on that episode. It was a lot of fun. Thank you all for listening. Thanks, Bill, for joining us for another week and telling your story about Dog Man and Sasquatch and just all the craziness. This week, we have an unbelievable guest, Miss Heather Hodson, who has an unbelievable story. And the reason we ask her on is for all the amazing things that she's doing for women in the fly fishing industry. Welcome to the podcast. Let's light the fire. Well, today on the Remote No Pressure podcast, we have Heather Hodson on the phone with us. Thank you very much for joining us, Heather.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Amanda Monti told me I needed to reach out to you because you're doing some awesome things in the fly fishing community. And before we get into all of that you're doing in the fly fishing community, I want to first ask you a few questions just about you, Heather. Now, by day, or your full time, you have a full time job, and can you tell us a little bit about that and what you do?
So my real job, although most people think I don't actually work, is I'm a critical care nurse. So I have been a nurse for 13 years, and I mostly focus on cardiac. I work in the cath lab, the EP lab. And then I have another job where I work as a float pool nurse. So anywhere from like ER to pediatrics to labor and delivery to ICU to the medical floor. So I truly do work.
Is it a pretty stressful job that you have there?
Yeah, anytime I think when you're dealing with life or death, it's definitely stressful, especially when you're as a critical care nurse. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons that kind of brought me into fly fishing, or just kind of looking for that outlet. And within Spokane, the number one industry is actually healthcare. So it's no surprise that my women's group, I would say probably 25% of us are nurses, or at least work in the healthcare industry, whether we're physicians or nurse practitioners or nurses or whatnot. So it's definitely stressful, but you can find outlets and find friends that you can talk the same language to and not gross everybody out.
Yeah, I would probably get pretty grossed out hanging out with you guys. So you
probably, yeah, we get a little graphic sometimes.
Well, let's talk about getting into fly fishing then, because you alluded to that. How did you find fly fishing?
I was born in Alaska, and I have lived in Washington most of my life. I've always hunted or conventional gear fished. And in 2008, I was dating a guy who we both decided that we were going to learn to fly fish together. And it was cool. We were quite the pair. It took me an entire year to catch my first fish on the fly. And I don't know if it was just stupidity or just the zen of being out there. And it was so beautiful. But I was using a size 14 orange stimulator, no floating, had no idea what tip it was. I mean, it was just a mess. And so, and then ever since then, I just have kind of, I got into the local fly shop here in Spokane and took their class, and just have had several mentors who have taken me under their wings. A lot of nurses actually. And so we have crazy hours and crazy days that we work. So we'll just get out on the water and get out and fish. And so I took that class at Silverbow Fly Shop in 2011, and now I teach and do the entire women's program. So now I'm teaching those classes. So it's pretty cool to see how, you kind of have this lofty goal and you can actually achieve it. So
yeah, that's great. It sounds like you've had quite the journey. Now, can you tell us a little bit about what you do with Trout Unlimited?
Sure. I do a lot of volunteering, and it takes a lot of time, but it's absolutely worth it to me. So I am the Western United States Women's Ambassador for Trout Unlimited. So basically what that means is I have 14 states that I help mentor, lead women, helping them get women involved, or just to get more of a diverse group into Trout Unlimited, not only with conservation, but also kind of with the fishing aspect as well. So basically, yeah, just mentoring everybody.
And how's that going for you, Heather?
It's insanely amazing.
That's awesome.
You know, it is. It's really incredible. When I first started for Washington State, we only had one chapter that was actually affiliated kind of as this women's initiative. And within that, over the last 2 years, we now have 7 different chapters just in Washington State that have grown to have a women's like somewhat program. And Oregon has just, we have 4 new programs in Oregon. I just hosted an event in Missoula, Montana, and we had 67 women show up for the meet and greet for the West Slope TU chapter meeting. And it was just, it's incredible. I always joke that if you build it, they will come. And I feel like if you have really good women who are enthusiastic and leaders and want to get women involved and make it safe, fun, non-intimidating, then you're going to have more women than you're going to know what to do with. And that's kind of where it's been. So it's been really phenomenal.
That's so great to hear. Now, let me ask you this question. You talked a little bit about intimidation. What is a common thing that would intimidate a female angler, and what are some suggestions that you have for them to overcome that intimidation?
I think I don't necessarily think that it's just women anglers. I think for guys too, just fly fishing in general can be pretty intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, just even walking into a fly shop, regardless if you've been fishing for, 20 years or even 5 days, male or female, it can be intimidating. So I think a couple of things is just for the new person or somebody that might be intimidated to, if they are going to walk into a shop, maybe, just talk to them and just be open-minded and maybe know a little bit of the terminology sometimes would help. I think it's actually the other way around. Rather than having the new person, what can they do? I think it's what can we as anglers who have been fishing for a while, what can we do to help make people feel more welcomed and less intimidated? And I think that for those anglers, whether you're male or female, it's just, not having any assumptions, not asking if you actually fish, but just asking, where do you fish? Or where have you been fishing lately? Or, just kind of talk to them about where they like to go outdoors or whatnot. So I think it's the other way around, turn it around and actually make people feel welcomed versus having the new people try to feel welcome.
That's a very good point. Yeah. And we have in Grand Rapids, we have a couple of really great fly shops that I went into when I first started. And you're exactly right. I mean, all of a sudden there's chicken feathers everywhere, and I'm like, what the heck is all this stuff, And words like hackle and just like these crazy words, and it's very overwhelming. But you're exactly right. You can go to a good fly shop, and hopefully they're going to make you feel welcome. You said you were born in Alaska. Where exactly were you born in Alaska?
I was born in Anchorage, and my uncle, he owns, he's owned a fly fishing lodge out of Bristol Bay for almost 30 years. So, and my dad and my uncle were hunting guides before I was born. So definitely it's just the river kind of runs through my veins. It's always been in my blood. So
do you guide at all?
I have my guide's license, and the reason why I have that is because I do a lot of private lessons. So for me, I don't want the stress of having to have somebody catch a fish. For me, I want to be able to teach and kind of go through whatever they want. If they want to practice casting, or if they want to learn fishing techniques or what's in their box, or we'll talk about bugs or how to approach the water. And if and when we do approach the water, and if they do catch a fish, I have to have my guide's license. So yes, I have my guide's license, but it's more of an educational learning, private lesson stuff. And so that's what I'd rather do. I don't want the stress of having to try to, just catch fish. I want the angler to actually learn something and feel, accomplished by the end of the time that they've spent with me.
That's a great answer. So you're perfectly legal, in case anyone's listening.
I'm perfectly legal. That's right.
Growing up in Anchorage, growing up around your family. I mean, this is a family type business and an event. You grew up in
Hmm.
it. It seems like
Right.
lawyers produce lawyers, family wise, and doctors. A lot of times, their kids will be doctors. It's a family thing. So say, but what was it when you were a child, Heather, growing up in Anchorage? What did you dream of doing? Did you always dream of doing something in the fishing industry, or what was it that you dreamed of?
Well, I actually grew up in Brush Prairie, Washington, which is kind of more steelhead country in Western Washington. So, with that, with my dad, I never really thought I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I wanted to be an English teacher of all things, and my English is not amazing. I'm a much better scientist than I am a English major. But I always fished, and I would always go out. A lot of it was conventional gear fishing for steelhead or salmon, especially over in that area. And I mean, I don't, from the first memories that I have, I've always been fishing, or in the outdoors or doing something or hunting. I'm going duck hunting or bear hunting with my dad on horses or, whatever. It's always been the outdoors, but I don't necessarily think that that was what I wanted to do, for the rest of my life.
When did you decide to become an RN or a nurse?
Let's see, I graduated nursing school in '06. So I probably about '03. So I'm the first person in kind of my immediate family to actually go into the healthcare industry. And I was in business prior. I was an office manager, even as a young office manager. And I just felt like I wasn't doing anything for anyone. And so I chose to go to nursing school in 2003 and went, and I remember my chemistry instructor, I was starting off at community college, and my chemistry instructor, he's like, you're not going to be able to transfer into a junior senior or WSU because it's too hard. It's too much of a competition. And so that kind of lit my fire, and I was able to get into WSU with really good grades, and actually was the science student of the year in college. So I'm a bit nerdy as well. But and so yeah, going into nursing school, and I haven't looked back, and I've always been critical care. I think it's just that adrenaline and just helping people. I mean, every day is something different, and definitely there's some challenges, kind of like with fly fishing. Every day is something different, and there's definitely challenges. But it always is super rewarding, whether I catch a fish or not. It's always rewarding. And the same, I think, with nursing as well. Is I know that I'm doing something good for somebody.
Why an English teacher? Why did you want to do that?
That's a good. I don't know. Oh, when I was little, we used to play like school, and I was
Uh-huh.
always the teacher. So I would always have all my little neighbor friends come over, and I would always just like teach them. And so maybe that's my calling. I mean, I love to teach. I love student nurses. I love to be able to just educate them or help them do different tasks. And the same goes for fly fishing. I love traveling around the country and teaching women how to fish and like speak about getting women involved. So I don't know. Maybe I just like the teaching aspect. So I just chose English but I love to teach. It's something I'm good at, and I truly enjoy it. So,
That's great. Well, we had Matt Heron on the phone with us. He's down in Salt Lake. We've had
hmm.
Anita Coulter. We've had Matt Peisert. It seems like all the great guides and all the people who are out there doing a lot of the things to take this industry to the next level. It seems like they all have a passion for teaching other people. And it's just so funny because I talk to a lot of people. I'll do 2, 3 interviews a week, Heather, and it seems like that is a very common theme, that very common thread that goes through everyone that I talk to. Like they all have to have a passion for teaching. Um,
hmm.
my question for you though, I mean, it's one thing to go fishing. It's one thing to be part of Trout Unlimited. But I mean, you've got like this enthusiasm. I mean, you've got this drive, you know, to really go out
Yeah,
there. And,
totally.
you know, why is that? What I mean, what is the drive? I mean, don't you ever get tired and want to throw in the towel? I mean, what is it that's driving you?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. Y- I do get tired. For instance, last week, so in a week's period, I hosted a TU Leadership Women's Weekend. So I had 23 women from 4 different states in Hood River, Oregon. The next day, I went and worked in the cath lab, and I was on call all night. The next day, I went to Missoula, Montana, and spoke and had that women's thing. And then I've worked 4 days, 412, and I was on call last night. So just in a week, I mean, it's just nonstop. And I do get tired. Sometimes I get frustrated, just with just answering emails or, just whatever. But every time I host an event or I see the women, or I meet all, the friends that I've made, this incredible fly fishing family, it's absolutely worth it. And it's weird. It like rejuvenates me every single time, regardless of how tired I am. I just see the expressions and the light in people's eyes and just how happy and how excited that they are that they just learned something, or that some, rigging technique or something just clicked. And then they thank me, and it's awesome. So I think that's what it is. It's giving back. I think, there's a lot of people in this world that are just kind of about themselves. And I think
Hmm.
if they were to give back, or, just kind of do something or pass something on to somebody, just, I don't know, the joy that you receive from that is like no other. So it keeps me going. It just rejuvenates me.
Can you share a story with us about a female angler that you introduced to fly fishing that just really, like, her life was really affected by it?
So there's this young lady who's in Spokane. She's had some traumatic stuff happen. Her mom had cancer and whatnot. And, she just graduated from nursing school, and she for before she ever caught her first fish, she actually built her own fly rod, which is crazy. She's
Wow.
just one of these amazing women, but she had never caught a fish yet, right?
Uh huh.
And so, with one of our outings last year, we were in North Idaho with my women's group, and I was bound and determined to have her catch her first fish on the fly on her first fly rod that she actually built.
Wow.
And so we spent, oh man, a good 10 hours, the entire day. She had opportunities. And, as we're new, we may set the hook upstream, or we may, just not quite catch that fish. And finally, at the very end of the day, she was able to hook and land this just amazing, beautiful cutthroat. And kind of the cherry on top was it was actually the first fly that she tied within our women's group too. So the first
Oh,
fly she ever
wow.
tied, her first fly rod that she ever built, and her first fish. And I was all a part of that. And since then she's definitely has been addicted and is definitely hooked. And she's just this incredible person. And so it's just she was so stoked and so excited and just beyond words of and I'm sure that fish is probably dedicated to our mom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
pretty cool.
How has moments like that affected Heather? How have they affected you? I mean, as you look back on all the years that you've been doing this, I mean, how has it affected you? I mean, do you ever reminisce on stories like that?
I do, and I think with there's an evolution in fly fishing, and I feel like I've started to evolve where at first you kind of feel like you have to catch all the fish, and then you want to catch all the big fish, and and for me now, just seeing that it's and being and having those stories, it's more it doesn't really matter about the fish. There's just so much more to it, and just being out there and just being a part of whatever I am, a part of at that time, and just being in the moment. And I think that that's probably what I've learned the most from all of this, and just and learned the most about me is that it doesn't matter if you're catching the biggest fish or the most fish or any fish for that matter. It's just kind of looking at you and just being yourself and, not being somebody that you're not,
You talked a little bit there about what it's done for you, how this evolution in fly fishing, how you kind of want to catch the biggest fish, and now it's not as big of a deal to catch all the fish. What's next for you? Where are you evolving next to?
One of the things I think my next evolution in fly fishing is to be to educate more on proper fish handling. My first 10 years, I had a lot of grip and grins. I was probably not, holding them properly. I know I've dropped my fair share of fish. And so I think for me, my evolution is just trying to think about that and just be kind to the resources and help educate that. If I have a say with several, new anglers, especially if I can help educate on, some different tips or ideas of proper fish handling, and if I can lead by example, then that's kind of my next evolution, I think, is just, yeah, I've done that and I am just learning. And so I just want to get better and be the best that I can be and just help educate and teach about it.
What can you tell our audience about handling fish?
Well, fish don't breathe out of water. one thing I one thing I've learned, I run a lot of races, so marathons, half marathons, or adventure races. And one analogy that really stuck to me was, if you just ran a marathon and all of a sudden somebody told you to hold your breath, would that be difficult? And so I think about that, it's like these fish that they just ran this marathon and then now you take them out of the water, put them back in, and I think just being mindful and getting a little nerdy with, the fish's lamellae, they stick together. So their lungs basically stick together when you hold them out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And so just being mindful of that. I mean, it's, yeah, just thinking about it. That's truly all that matters is just being thankful or thinking about it and mindful and just leading by example. So it's not always, doesn't really matter about all the grip and grins. You can get some really cool shots of the fish in the water, or you in the water, or just some more artistic thinking outside the box stuff. And that's my evolution. It's not for everybody. And I've had a lot of people naysay and be actually quite negative to me for me having this view. And it's kind of interesting, but I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and just try to lead by example.
Just Heather being Heather, just you being you, huh?
Yep, Heather being Heather. Yeah, that's one thing. And especially as I've gotten older, that I'm learning. That it is important to just be yourself and not try to, do something for others or try to, look the best because you think that you're going to be able to post this, this photo on Instagram and you want to get all these likes. It's not really all about that. It's just being you, being yourself and just, just being yourself.
Why do you think this is not really fly fishing related, but why do you think it's so hard for some people? And some people are never themselves. They may grow up and grow old and they've never lived to be themselves. Why do you think that's so hard for people?
I think some people are just insecure, or that they just get affirmation of when there's somebody else that they're not, and a lot, like I'm the first one to say I absolutely hate confrontation. And sometimes it's hard, if you had an opinion or if you were trying to do something and be yourself, not everyone loves each other in this world, as we all know. So it's hard sometimes for confrontation. And if I think people sometimes just want people to just like them,
Right. Yeah. And sometimes as you get older, you're like, why am I doing this?
Totally.
Sometimes it just takes some time, who's not insecure, who doesn't like, getting positive reinforcement and who likes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think we all definitely are. We all have our moments for sure. Women, especially. We're always complaining about, with some flaw in ourselves that we don't like, and then it's just, yeah. And it's funny because I'll think of certain things about myself personally, and then I go to the hospital and I'll see patients, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that, extra cookie that I had did not make me, 400 pounds, or whatever.
Right,
So
right.
it's definitely, we all have our own flaws, and we just have to learn to, to love ourselves, which sounds kind of cheesy, but it's true. It's true,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of guys have very, very, similar insecurities as well, but
hmm
they may not vocalize them as much. They may hold them in or try to be super macho
Yeah.
they comes out in different ways. But I think everyone is human beings. I mean, we're all insecure. Going into that fly shop that we talked about earlier, and holy crap,
hmm
what are they going to do to me? What are they going to say to me? I don't know what I'm
Yeah,
doing. Getting over that could open up a whole world of opportunity, like fly fishing to you. So,
for sure. And I think too, sometimes like with women, there's a point that you almost have to prove yourself,
mm,
and it's unfortunate, but it's true. I feel, I've seen a lot of posts or so, and I've done this myself too, I'll question if somebody's truly a good angler. And it's like, well, if they haven't posted a video of them casting, then I don't believe it. Right. And that's just so wrong for me to think that. But there is a point of having to prove yourself and show, that you are a good angler, and that you can walk the walk, and it's, it's kind of unfortunate, but fortunate in the same point that for me, especially, it makes me want to become a much better angler and prove others wrong,
hmm.
and so I definitely will become better because of that.
Well, if you ever want someone to make you look good, we go fishing together, and you can cast next to me, and they'll be like, "Holy cow, who's that guy? Like, he cannot." And I'll say, "You're my teacher," because I am not a good angler. I am not a good caster, and I will say that, and I will announce it from the rooftops. I do good. I do good once I'm out for a while, getting the rhythm. But I'm still learning. We all are, So
Yeah, oh yeah. But you have fun, right? And you
yeah,
enjoy yourself. And
absolutely.
that's what it's all about. That's like, you'll see, I have this dance challenge right now with United Women on the Fly. And it's all about being goofy and having fun on the water. If you're not having fun, then you're not enjoying your life. You have to have fun. You have to enjoy it. And who cares if your loop is not super tight, or you know what I mean? Like, the fish don't care. The fish don't care if you're fishing a $50 rod or $1,000 rod.
Right.
They don't care, as long as you present it right, and you set the hook and you're having fun. That's all that truly matters.
That's right. And if I come out and say I'm
Yeah.
not a good angler, then when people see me on video and they can't dog me, they can't clown me and say he's not a
Yeah,
good angler because
totally.
hey,
Absolutely.
I'll take it. I'll say hey, I'm an average angler. But
That's right. We're
anyways,
all learning. That's what, no, I totally agree. I like my spay fishing, man. I'm learning. I'm getting better, but my spay casting is definitely, it's a work in progress.
yeah, yeah. And you're in Spay
Yeah,
country, aren't you? I mean, a lot of people
I
are.
am.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's just finding time to get out and practice and actually
Hmm.
do it. So, and it's so fun and it's so beautiful. And once you actually get it down, it's just, oh, it feels so good.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. It looks awesome. I've never done Spay, but it does. It
Well,
looks
you
magical.
come out to my world, and I'll introduce you, and I'll show you some water.
I
So
will, yeah, because we had Dave
yeah.
McCoy on here. I don't know if you know Dave
hmm
McCoy from Emerald.
I do know Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then Joe LaFollette as well.
Yep. I know.
Is
I'm actually fishing with Joel on Pyramid in a couple weeks.
are you going? Are you? Is he taking out that cool SUV that he has? I don't know if
Oh
you.
my gosh, yes. So yeah, we're staying at Crosby's because I love that little fish camp. And he texted me a photo. He's like, "Now that's not camping. This is camping." And he shows this like badass car. It's like, oh my gosh, it is pretty cool.
Yeah, you know what's
It has
funny?
everything plus the kitchen sink.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You know what's so funny is he gets his fly shop. I've never been there, but it must rock because he's got like a very faithful group of people because he is the
hmm
number as of right now before I publish yours, he's the number one downloaded episode that we've had.
Seriously? Oh, that's have you read his newsletter? It's incredible.
Yeah, it's great. And it's got like a 90% open rate or something. So he published it
Yeah.
and said I was on this podcast and all these people came to my podcast and they're still like coming there on a regular basis to listen to him talk. So I don't know what he's doing out there, but he's awesome. Like I love it. I love
Joel's Yeah, he's a saint. He truly is one of the most amazing people on this planet. He's a really good person.
Well,
So
between all of you guys, I'm gonna have to get out there and do some fly
yeah,
fishing.
yeah, because I'm Spokane, he's Portland, and Dave's Seattle. So you have all of the like areas. You have places to stay, places to fish. You should definitely come out.
I will. I will come out. Well, thank you very much, Heather. If someone wants to know more about what you're doing, if someone wants to know more about let's see here, hold on a second. If someone wanted to know more about United Women on the Fly, or maybe some females who are looking to get into fly fishing, or anyone looking into fly fishing, how would they get a hold of you, or what's the best way for them to go about checking out what you're up to?
They can look me up personally on Instagram. So I'm Northwest Fly Girl. Or they can just get on any social media outlets and look up United Women on the Fly. There's a public page, and then we also have a closed group that's almost 1,000 women right now from all over the world. So feel free to ask to join and just be a part of this awesome central hub of sharing and conversing and making new friends.
All right, Heather. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Heather, and thank you for joining us for another week of the Remote No Pressure podcast. Be sure to go to our website at remotenopressure.com, sign up for our mailing list, and until next time, go fishing.